Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another session on polity and constitution. I hope I'm audible as well as visible. Great. Did we guys get a chance to revise? No? Great if you have revised. Uh, what's the inconvenience? No problem, Senthil. Take care of your health. Bhuvnesh, sir, is it help? No, no, Bhuvnesh. This is a weekend batch which is from a different point, right? The weekday batch is we are still discussing anti-defection law. Here we have moved on to discuss the judiciary. So you can rather focus on revising what was taught over the weekday again and again. Okay. So in the class yesterday, we had taken up for discussion, primarily the topics judiciary, under which we discussed Supreme Court, also the high courts, the subordinate courts, NALSA. So I think there was some error in joining the session for some of you. So I just summarized NALSA for you, but I hope you have seen that 10-15 minute video on NALSA, right? So anyway, then we also moved on to discuss about the judicial independence, and it is extremely important to ensure judicial independence. And the idea being that it's a responsibility. It's not some kind of privilege given to the judiciary. But anyway, then we also saw pendency of cases and what steps can be taken to resolve the pendency. I think that's the point where we had left off. And lastly, some alternate dispute resolution mechanisms, starting with Lok Adalat. So we were yet to discuss Lok Adalat. I think that's the point we'll start today, our discussion on Lok Adalat. Right. So let's begin now with our discussion on Lok Adalats. But first up, we will have 5 questions for the day, and limited time for you to mark your answer. 45 seconds, I think, would be sufficient. Dinesh, just revise. Reading it, solving MCQs, that's all you need to do. How many of you, how many of you did not see this? Incorrect. Not correct. Incorrect. So with reference to DPC, Consider the following statements. A lot of you got the answer right, but could not mark the correct answer. So the 74th Amendment Act provides for DPC, absolutely correct, right? Article 243 ZD. 4/5 members of DPC are nominated by the governor. This is wrong actually, because 4/5 of them are elected, not nominated. And it has representation from both rural and urban population. Absolutely correct. It has members both from the panchayats as well as the municipalities. So two of the statements are correct. How many are incorrect? Only one is incorrect. A, 1 is the answer. Okay, moving on now to the next question. Why did most of you mark two corrects? Which two are correct? Some of you have said all three are correct. Which two are correct? Can you please tell me? Panchayati Raj was first established in Rajasthan. Okay, correct. Two is correct. The first rural self-government or urban self-government, a municipal corporation was set up, not the panchayat. An urban local governance was set up in Madras province. Please go to your municipalities lecture, right? It was the setting up of municipal corporation, right? In fact, I made this a point to tell you that we interestingly began with the setting up of a municipal corporation before some panchayat. And the Panchayati Raj got the status in 1992, right? The 73rd Amendment Act. Yes or no? Wrong. Only one is the right answer. Are we clear on this? Okay. Moving on to the third question. Now, please read the question carefully. I'll give you a minute to answer this, right? And then mark the answer. Don't jump to marking the answer. Please have patience. See, as I told you, important to read the statement carefully. And on the premature dissolution of panchayat before its end of tenure, which of the which of the following statements about the newly elected panchayat is definitely incorrect? What's the meaning of definitely? 100%, right? There is no may here. Now, it will be reconstituted to serve a full term of 5 years. We know very well there is no such concept. Yes or no? Whenever the panchayat is constituted, we know very well that it has been given 5 years. If it dissolves mid-term, then the newly formed panchayat only continues for remainder period. So one is definitely wrong. State legislative assembly shall decide the course of action. No, it is mentioned in the constitution what is to be done. It will be reconstituted to serve remainder period is possibly correct. But do you remember that if less than 6 months are left for the original tenure to come to an end, there is no need to conduct elections? Yes. Did you remember this point? That if only 6 months are left for the normal tenure to be over, then we don't need to conduct elections. It's okay. The panchayat can remain without, the area can remain without a panchayat for 6 months. Then once the entire state panchayats get dissolved automatically, then the panchayat elections can be conducted in that area also along with the other areas. So no fresh election shall take place for remainder of the term may also happen. So both these possibilities are available. It is not definitely wrong. It can also be done. That is why 1 and 4 definitely incorrect. Not 1, 2 and 4. Did we understand this point? Everyone? I hope there is no doubt now. Okay. Then for the fourth question, easy question. Okay, so this is easy. I still wanted more of people to mark the correct answer. Which of the following is again not an essential feature? Not an essential feature. So, firstly, centralization of decision making is not an essential feature. The purpose of local self governance is what? The purpose of local self governance is devolving power, devolving the functions, sharing power, sharing the functions. So, how can this be correct? Right? Now, this means these two can't be the answers only. Active participation of citizenry is actually correct, meaning it is an essential feature. So this can never be a part of the answer, right? So this is actually essential feature. So one can't be the answer only. What remains is this has to be the answer, right? Are we clear on this? Everybody? So B is the answer for this question, right? So again, as I said, we have to focus on reading the words very, very carefully. And it is very important to understand and read the statement and find out what is the. Firstly, always in the prelims type questions, try to eliminate what can never be correct and what remains is the right answer. Puja, decentralization. In panchayats, we discuss decentralization. Decentralization, think of it as distributing the political power and the decision making authority among multiple levels of government, involving the local communities, local groups in the decision making process. Democratic decentralization. Right? That's it. Now, the last question for today. Please mark the answer. Okay, which of the following is or are not compulsory provisions? Not. So, organizing a Gram Sabha for institutions, it's compulsory. Compulsory provision. An SFC, Article 243, capital I, compulsory. So, giving representation to members of parliament, MPs, MLAs, not compulsory. State legislature may, yes or no, may by law provide for this. So 3 is not compulsory. This means B, 3 only is the right answer. Clear? All okay? Should we proceed now? Are we happy with our performance today? Let's look at the leaderboard. Shahid Sushant Krishna. Oh, Shahid and Sushant Burma. 2 people getting all 5 correct. Very good. Then Krishna Ankita getting 4 correct. Oh. Then Panyala Choin Kaustubh Himadri Jayant Rana Besti Pradeep Satish Ravi Saundarya Astha Simran Malvika Sundar Kambapati Nikhil getting 2 correct, 3 correct. Oh, that's not good. It's okay. Don't worry. Revisions. Right? Okay. Now let's move on to understanding Lok Adalats. Before that, I hope you have pen and paper, everybody. Yes? Please write a question. All ready with pen and paper? Okay. Judicial independence. Judicial independence is not a privilege. Judicial independence is not a privilege but a responsibility. But a responsibility. Full stop. In the context of this statement, in the context of this statement, critically analyze, critically analyze the importance of, in the context of the statement, critically analyze the importance of judicial independence, judicial independence in a democratic setup like India. In a democratic setup like India. Full stop. Discuss the challenges faced by the judiciary. Discuss the challenges faced by judiciary in maintaining its independence. Discuss the challenges faced by the judiciary in maintaining its independence and suggest measures and suggest measures to strengthen and suggest measures to strengthen the autonomy, the autonomy of the judicial system. Suggest measures to strengthen the autonomy of the judicial system. 250 words, 15 marks. Done? Okay. Gaurav, sir, where to send answers? Gaurav, send your answers to Target IAS. Yes, Ganesh. So, in this question, basically, I'll just give you a brief on what you can write. In the introduction, talk about the importance of judicial independence, right? Don't exceed 30-35 words. It's not really going to be of help. Then start in your body by mentioning the importance of judicial independence, upholding rule of law, protecting rights of people, separation of power, checks and balances, etc. Instilling confidence in the public, belief that there is somebody who can work for their benefit. Then challenges to the independence of judiciary, like executives interference, right? Pendency of cases a challenge, right? Decreasing public perception with respect to respect, right? Faith, that is a challenge. Then various allegations of corruption at lower judiciary level, that's a challenge, right? Lack of transparency in appointments, the collegium system, that's a challenge. And then mention the uh, steps that you can incorporate to strengthen the system, right? So again, the same old story, like minimizing the executive interference, transparency in appointments, there should be some accountability mechanism, reducing the pendency of cases, providing some financial autonomy, all these things, right? Proper judicial training, etc. And in the conclusions, you can simply talk about how judicial independence is supreme, it's paramount, right? And it also ensures that, or rather, there's a huge responsibility. With great power, comes great responsibility. There's a huge responsibility of upholding justice, upholding the idea of rule of law, fairness in such a vibrant democracy like that of India. So those are things that we'll be writing in this question. Okay, great. Is yesterday the Lok Adalat conducted? No, Satish. We'll discuss Lok Adalat today only. Garima, sir, is this a WI? I don't know what is WI. Weekend? Yes, Garima. Single question. Deepa, question is not complete. And what are you doing, Deepa? Others can write. Why can't you? It's dictated so slowly. Madam, this is not justified. For those who did not write the question, please. Judicial independence is not a privilege but a responsibility. Uh, in the context of this statement, critically analyze the importance of judicial independence in a democratic setup like that of India. Full stop. Discuss the challenges faced by the Indian judicial system in maintaining its independence, and also suggest measures to strengthen the autonomy, the independence of the judicial system. I hope now we all have mentioned the question. If not, I have marked it here. So somewhere around this discussion, you can see the recorded video and get the question again. Okay, let's now begin our discussion. Lok Adalat conducted on 9 September. In the country, it keeps on getting conducted, sir. Nothing unique. Every year, 4 or 5 times. Okay. So, what exactly is the concept of Lok Adalat? See, as far as this idea is concerned, think of this system, this in front of you. This is actually an image of a Lok Adalat. Don't worry, I was not there to click the photograph from the internet only. But I'll explain how this thing actually functions. So let's assume that you have some kind of a bank loan. You have taken a bank loan of 75,000. Okay, 75,000 rupees bank loan. Now, slowly and steadily, the interest keeps on building up on this bank loan, and the interest makes the loan, the pending loan, to 1 lakh rupees. Then you stop paying the installments, you stop paying the EMI, and eventually, what happens when you stop paying the EMI? Then the bank starts getting nervous as to what is going to happen. So, in this situation, if your installment is missed once, it's called a special mention account. In your economics classes, we'll be discussing all this. If your installment second time, you don't pay for it, it's an SMA2 type account. Finally, it becomes an NPA, a non-performing asset. Then the bank slowly realizes that, oh, this fellow has no interest of paying the money. So they may classify your account as a doubtful, substandard, finally, lost asset. But the bank does not give up the right to collect money from you. Now, bank has two options. Option one, go to the court and file a case. That option is always open. But bank also knows if they go to court, they'll have to hire a lawyer, etc., and fees to the lawyer to fight a case. Then the pendency of cases in the court, which will take a lot of time. So bank goes for an alternative process. What? Compromise. Bank sends you a letter. In this letter, the bank says that, see, I know, shameless fellow, you have taken a loan, you're not returning the loan, but let's do one thing. I am willing to offer you discount, waiver, haircut. Say 20% discount. meaning of the pending loan, please pay only 80,000 and we will say that he has repaid the entire amount. Go enjoy. Compromise. So the idea of Lok Adalat is what? Settlement of disputes through compromise. Point number one. Now, once this is done, if you agree, see, there is no need to agree. You can simply say, no, I will not pay anything. That's possible. So if you agree, then the bank will mention that if you are in agreement, please come on Saturday. Normally it's done on Saturdays only. So on Saturday in some local court, please come with this letter and sign the compromise. So just like you, thousands of other shameless people have also been called who have not repaid their loan in time. So this is how a Lok Adalat looks like. Look at this. So this person, now this lady seemingly, and this person, hopefully they're husband and wife, I have no idea. These people have not repaid the loan, and there's a person here who's calling out names of all the people. They would come next and come in line, right? Like they had in the school and college people who used to compare on the stage. Then this person is a retired district judge. Look at his expression only. So much of anger, retired district judge only. And then the other two people, these two, this lady here and this person here. These two people are also experts in the field of banking industry. So a 3-member body, Lok Adalat, a permanent Lok Adalat. Some enthusiastic people here waiting for their turn, but you know how we are. We jump behind to see when our number is coming, right? And this person is a bank's lawyer. Look at his expression only. Looks like a bank's lawyer, of course. So this is the Lok Adalat, where a compromise is being arrived at between the bank. So it's the representative of the bank and the people who have taken the loan. And this person says that, okay, in my presence, this compromise was achieved. Clear? So this is with respect to the Lok Adalat. So what's the idea? The beauty of Lok Adalat is the flexibility. Look at the flexibility. No need to use CRPC, CPC, nothing required. No procedures to be followed. Completely flexible. Look at how affordable it is. Affordability. Look at the speed. It's fast. The amicability. And very important, finality. Whatever awards are given by Lok Adalat, they are final. Okay? You cannot challenge these awards anywhere. So if the bank, and it's very logical, now think of it. Some of you may say, sir, can you not challenge in Supreme Court also? Your question is wrong. I'll tell you why. Imagine you clear the exam in future. Let's say you study well and you clear the exam in future, right? Now, don't dream, come back in reality. So if you clear the exam in future, what will happen? Lot of people will come to you saying, oh, amazing, best friend, remember in class 3 we are good friends and all. What if somebody comes to you and expresses their love for you also? That, I always loved you, but I did not want to disturb you because you were preparing for the exam. Now, accept my love for you. If the person comes and proposes to you, let's say, what options do you have? Two options. You either accept the proposal or reject the proposal. You cannot say, no, no. Why have you come? Why your friend has not come? This can't be done. Are you clear? So you either accept it or reject it. You can't question the proposal. Same thing here. If the bank is offering you 20% discount, you cannot challenge why only 20%. Why not 34%? Why not 40%? Why? I'm offering you this. Do you want it? Yes, take it. No, no problem. I always have the option of going to the court. Court window is always open for me as a bank. In fact, that's the beauty here. Lok Adalat is separate from the court system. So I can file a case in the court, and if I find that too much of time is getting wasted in the court, I can go for compromise. If you agree on the compromise, I'll take back my case also. Or before filing a case also, I can try for a compromise. This compromise window is separate from the court window. Both windows can run simultaneously. Clear? So it is available in the pre and the post litigative stage, meaning before filing a court case or after filing a court case. Before or after filing court case. Don't think that this window is closed. No, no, always open. And as I said, the award is binding. Award is binding, it cannot be challenged anywhere. Clear? One more thing. In Lok Adalat, what kind of cases can you file? You can file cases pertaining to public utility services. Example, water or electricity bill. Example, bank loan. What else? Example, accident compensation. In fact, if you are from Delhi, you would have seen traffic challan also. Traffic challan. So if you have too many pending challans, then in Delhi they have given this option that how much of pending challan, because they have cameras everywhere. Photo is clicked, challan sent to your house. If you have not paid challan worth 80,000, they will settle all the challans at one go, pay 60,000. Done. Simple. So that is what is a Lok Adalat. It's a compromise. So what kind of cases can be resolved? Civil cases, but also some criminal cases. What kind of criminal cases? Compoundable criminal cases. What is a compoundable offense? Petty offenses. Those small offenses where out of court settlement is allowed. Those offenses are called compoundable offenses. Clear? Compoundable offenses. Meaning, think of a very simple example. In your college, gangs always fight against each other. So let's say two groups are fighting against each other to impress a random person standing somewhere. The person has no idea you're trying to impress them, but you are fighting. Now, if the situation deteriorates, the police can come. The police, what will it do? It won't file a case against you to spoil your career. It will call the leaders of both the gangs, come here, slap both of them and say, come on, shake hands, get lost. Right? So that is called a compoundable offense, petty offense. You have stolen some money from somebody's pocket, pickpocketing. The police may also slap you and say, come on, give the money back, go, get lost. Right? But if you murder somebody, no, they can't say, okay, say sorry, come on, say sorry, get lost. That's not possible. So for serious, heinous crimes, this is not possible. It's only for small, petty criminal cases also, and for all the civil cases as well. Clear? Now, the idea of Lok Adalat has been to deliver informal, cheap, and expeditious, fast, quick justice. And this concept was initiated by Justice P.N. Bhagwati, right? Even though the official law was passed, the same Legal Services Authorities Act under which we had NALSA was amended in 2002 to provide for the establishment of permanent Lok Adalats. Still, the first ever Lok Adalat was held in 1982 only. Junagadh, Gujarat, 14th of March 1982. That's when the first ever Lok Adalat was held. So this is the idea of Lok Adalat, right? And every permanent Lok Adalat shall comprise of a chairperson who is a former or serving district judge or additional district judge or judge having held a judicial office higher than district judge. So basically anybody who is a district judge or above, right? Retired or current. So current judges, why will they come? They are too busy. Retired judges normally come here. And two other members will be there having adequate experience in public utility service. Clear? So this is the Lok Adalat. Now, what is the limit? What is the amount uh, of money that you can approach the Lok Adalat to settle the matters for? The limit is 1 crore. Now, in your books and all, it may mention 10 lakhs, but as per NALSA website, it is 1 crore. So, any and every dispute involving an amount of up to 1 crore rupees can be resolved under Lok Adalats. Okay. In fact, just to add, somebody I think had asked me this question. What about the divorce cases and stuff? So, domestic disputes also. We have the concept of Parivarik Lok Adalats, where you can go and get your domestic disputes resolved. Not domestic violence and all. No, no, no. Not that. Basic disputes, petty issues, right? Not talking to me nicely, no romance in marriage, no salt in food. These kind of silly issues that people have, and they go to court to get a divorce and all. Right? So this is the Lok Adalat, and just to give you a rough idea on what is the number of cases that are solved normally. In the year 2022, you'll be surprised. 4.19 crore cases were disposed. 4.19 crore. Imagine we did not have Lok Adalats in our country. All these cases would have ended up in some local court. So currently, our pendency would have been over 10 crores, right? So this is the amount of, this is rather the scale of the cases being solved by Lok Adalat per year to unburden the already overburdened judiciary. Are we clear? Everybody? Any doubt? Any concern? Okay. Uh, Sunidhi, sir, is Lok Adalat separate from bank issues? What is bank issue? Ganesh, Chalan means? Chalan is an application you submit. Ganesh, are you a school student? My bad. Traffic fines. What kind of question is this? Meaning of Chalan? Gaurav, sir, virtual court is Lok Adalat. Sir, Lok Adalat, why will it be a virtual court? It's not a virtual court. Okay. Uh, what else? Ragini, don't subtly ask me the answer for the question. I have dictated. You can write these. This also is a very good example. Okay. Look at this, Garima. Are we all clear? Should we move on now? Parshuram, this option is available for all types of loans. But think of it, if the bank has, if you have given some collateral to the bank, right, in the form of car, in the form of your land, etc., then why will the bank go for any compromise, right? But if you are not in the paying capacity, etc., and the collateral is also of not great value, then the bank may opt for this. It's okay, some compromise. So it's always available. So this is all as far as Lok Adalat is concerned. I hope. Shahid, where were you when I explained this point? I told you that this is a compromise. I gave such a nice example that if somebody comes to you and says, I love you, don't worry, it will happen in your life. If it does not happen, doubtful. If you don't pay attention in life, this will never happen to you. But pay attention, it will happen to you. So if it happens to you ever in your life, you can only say yes or no. You can't say why your friend has not come. Right? Same thing here. The bank offers you a compromise. This is an award. Award given by Lok Adalat. That, come on, you want a discount of 20%? Given. You can agree on this award. You can disagree on the award. That no, I don't want a compromise. But you can't question the value of compromise. That why 20%? Why not 40%? Why not 80%? This can't be questioned. So this award is binding and it cannot be challenged. Right? So if any case in High Court, then can that case come in Lok Adalat if parties want? Yes, it's possible. Subject to the fact that it's a civil case or a compoundable criminal case, right? Okay, let's now move on. Solve this question. Came in the year 2010. Easy question. Nothing much to discuss here. No complications. Why? Why these many people are marking the wrong answer? Which other statement is correct? Tell me. Lok adalats have the jurisdiction to settle the matters at pre-litigative stage and not those matters pending before any court. Did I not say before after filing court case? It's mentioned right here. This is not correct. Lok adalats can deal with matters which are civil and not criminal. They can deal with a criminal offense. This is not correct. Every Lok Adalat consists of either serving or retired judicial officers only and not any other person. Look at this. Two members having adequate experience in public utility service. These are people, as I said, they are not a part of any banking, not a part of the judiciary. They are maybe experts in the area of banking, etc. So, of course, this is also wrong. D is the right answer. Clear? Very poor performance today. Now, coming to Gram Nyayalay Act. So, what is this other unique way of resolving disputes in an alternative fashion? See, the idea is you can't go to the court, right? You may not be able to approach the court, but the court will come to you. Clear? So, this is the idea of Gram Nyayalay. Now, please understand that it won't be the case that the judge comes knocking on the door of every person. Hello, you want justice? It's not like Nana Patekar selling onions and potatoes. Clear? So, what exactly is Gram Nyayalay? The purpose, as I said, is to provide access to justice to the citizens at their doorstep, ensuring that justice is not denied due to social, economic, or any other disability. So, for that, a law was passed called the Gram Nyayalay Act 2008, and this law came into force on Gandhiji's birthday, 2009. Okay. One more thing. This Gram Nyayalay is not applicable in certain states. Clear? Not applicable in number one, Arunachal, Sikkim, Nagaland. So states like Arunachal, Sikkim, and Nagaland. And number two, Schedule 6 areas. So what are Schedule 6 areas? We'll discuss in the next class. Basically, in some northeastern states, there are some districts which are called Schedule 6 areas. So no Gram Nyayalay in these areas. Apart from this, one more point. In our country, around 15 states have been at least categorized to have a Gram Nyayalay. But currently, Gram Nyayalays are not functional everywhere. They are only in 10 states, I believe, right? And as of now, even though there's a notification to create 703 Gram Nyayalays, but for whatever reasons, shortage of funds, etc., currently we have only around 370 operational Gram Nyayalays. Okay, so currently operational only 370. The max number of Gram Nyayalayas working or operational are in MP, then in UP, then in Rajasthan, then Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, etc. Okay. Now, one more thing. For this Gram Nyayalay, funding, one time money, 18 lakh per Gram Nyayalay, GN, Gram Nyayalay. by center. So center will give for setting up the Gram Nyayalaya one time 18 lakh rupees, and then the states have to continue running the Gram Nyayalaya on their own. So far, around 80 crore rupees have been sent by the central government for Gram Nyayalayas. Now, what is the concept of this Gram Nyayalaya? Let me explain to you. You have some problem in your village. Problem with respect to, say, let's say somebody hired you for some job, right? But has not paid you money, or has paid you money, but the money is too less, right? So in our country, we have various laws. For example, we have a law called Payment of Wages Act 1936, right? Or Minimum Wages Act 1948, where you have to pay the minimum wage that is applicable to everybody. Or maybe some cattle of your neighbor, cow, buffalo, oxen, etc., they have trespassed, entered your field, destroyed your crops. That's possible. In that case, also, same old story. We have a law, very old law, British times law, Cattle Trespass Act 1871. So if for these petty issues, not for big issues, okay, not murders and all, petty issues, somebody has slapped you, assaulted you, all these things, you can approach the Gram Panchayat and tell them that I want to go to court, this person harassing me. On receiving various such complaints, the Gram Panchayat can talk to the block to the district magistrate, the district collector, and the DC will inform the High Court that, sir, my lords, this is happening. The my lords at High Court level will order to send a judicial magistrate, first class, meaning the sessions court judge, the session side, a junior judge, JM first class. That person will be sent. First class magistrate. Okay. This person will be called Nyayadhikari. Nyayadhikari. Okay. Now, the adhikari, the officer to deliver justice, Nyay is justice. Now, see, when this person comes, at your block level, the information is given to every panchayat within a block that, guys, on the 24th of September, for 15 days, we are going to conduct Gram Nyayalaya in the entire block, all the Gram Panchayats. If you have any problem and concern, please approach. Collect all the complaints, tell your people to come and approach the Gram Nyayalaya, which is going to be conducted from this particular date. So, it is established at what level? An intermediate panchayat level. Now, let me just clarify one thing here. Sometimes the Gram Nyayalaya can be set up at the gram level also, meaning for a group of panchayats also, or for a group of gram panchayats. That's something that can also be done. But otherwise, at the intermediate panchayat level or at the block level, this is set. Clear? Now, this is the provision. Now, what happens is that you are informed, and at an appropriate time, you can go there and get your problems resolved. How? The idea is very simple. As we said, that it exercises both criminal and civil jurisdiction, and they hold mobile courts. Periodically visit the villages, conducting trials and proceedings, and they will dispose of the cases in how many months? 6 months. Fixed time frame. These are petty matters, right? So 6 months is sufficient time to dispose of a case. That's it. Now, in the Gram Nyayalaya, if you want to hire a lawyer, hire a lawyer. Who cares? But there is no such mandate. No need to follow any kind of CPC, CRPC, the code procedure, etc. Nothing is required. You go and defend yourself. Simple, right? Basic principles of natural justice will be followed, just ensuring fairness. What is PONJ? Remember PONJ? Nema causa in judex sua, audi alteram partem, giving reasons for judgment, right against bias, right to fair hearing, all these things, right? That's what is followed. So both parties will be given the chance to express their problem. Both parties will be heard. Judge has to be neutral and independent. That's it. Principles of natural justice. If you don't remember this, refer to yesterday's class. Under the revisory jurisdiction, we had seen principles of natural justice. Now, one more thing. Lot of these cases are very petty cases. Neighbor has destroyed my crops worth 4,000 rupees. I want the money, please. Now, in such cases, if the neighbor says, okay, okay, I'll pay, no problem, then why don't we, rather than going to Gram Nyayalaya, in the village only, some elder person, right? Some local influential people, maybe Gram Panchayat, Sarpanch, Mukhya, etc., they can be asked, resolve the dispute. Why to go to Gram Nyayalaya and file a case? So, in case of possibility of settlement of disputes also, GN, Gram Nyayalaya, shall enable attempts to effect such settlements, for which they can appoint people called conciliators or mediators. So the Gram Nyayalaya can ask the DM that, see, I have received 240 cases. How can I solve all these cases in 10 days? Sorry, let's do one thing. All these cases which are petty and small cases, let's tell the Gram Panchayat that appoint some member in your village only who can resolve these disputes. These are petty offenses, right? Somebody is not paying the money, etc. So get these resolved. That can also be done. Clear? And the Gram Nyayalaya can impose a punishment. Maximum 20,000 rupees fine can be imposed, not more than that. Can give you a jail sentence also. Maximum 2 years of jail. Now, one more thing. Award or because this is a fine and this is a punishment, so your punishments and fines, they can be challenged. Appeal is allowed. Because unlike Lok Adalat, it is not a compromise, right? The court is punishing you. It's a proper court which punishes you. So appeal is allowed only in case of jail sentence or if fine is more than 1,000 rupees. Only then can you file an appeal. If the fine given is 500, you have to pay the fine. No appeal. It's final. Also, the awards of Lok Adalat can be challenged. Yes, they can be challenged, but they can be challenged in the district court, and that's the only challenge. Nothing beyond that. Are we clear? There is nothing beyond that. End of story. You can't go to High Court and Supreme Court for such small offenses. Clear? These are small offenses only. So appeal in the Sessions Court, just one appeal. No High Court, Supreme Court. Clear? This is what is a Gram Nyayalaya. And one more thing, it is not free. You have to pay fees also. Fees to file a case. And what's the fees? 100 rupees. So at least 100 rupees is needed to file a case in the Gram Nyayalaya. And just to give you a rough estimate, how many civil cases are filed every month? You'll be surprised. Every month, 16 to 17,000 civil cases. And how many criminal cases? every month, 1.6 to 1.7 lakh cases are filed every month. Received. Clear, everyone? That is all as far as Gram Nyayalaya is concerned. We are done with Gram Nyayalaya. Doubts, if any? Ravi, appointing of conciliator is not a violation of separation of power. See, separation of power can get violated, but the idea is to ensure fairness. No problem. Are we not violating separation of powers in our country when the executive is a part of legislature? But if we have ample areas or ample ways to ensure accountability, then there's no problem. So there is no such concern. Edward, in Gram Nyalaya, should the party pay fees or is it free of cost? I mentioned here only, Edward, right on the screen, 100 rupees to file a case. Nothing is free. Muskan, why is it not applicable in some states? So, in certain states, they have their own local traditional courts. In Nagaland, in Schedule 6 areas. So, there, because this is to rather resolve disputes at a village level. So, in these states, they have their own traditional local courts. So, Gram Nyalaya will interfere with those local courts, and that is why not required there. What else? What else, guys? What else? Please tell me. All done? Should we move on? Yes or no? Ganesh, where are we going to complain in a small case? You can always go to a local court there, the magistrate's court, right? Or go to a munsif court, or go to a Gram Nyayalaya, various places. Or hire a hotshot lawyer and go to Supreme Court only. No, that may not be possible, right? So I hope, guys, you can distinguish between sarcasm and the reality, right? So, customary laws in Nagaland, Zabir. Are you asking me or are you telling me? Anyway. Pradeep, police does not have the power to resolve small disputes, but when it comes to these very petty offenses, a compromise can be arrived at. Now, would you call it the power to resolve small disputes? Maybe, right? But then what's the definition of a small dispute? The idea is that they should be compoundable cases where out of court settlement is possible, then the police can act as a mediator to settle, right? Muskan, yes, Nyayadhikari has the same power as the magistrate, judicial magistrate of first class, not the chief judicial magistrate, or the first class, and they receive the same salary as well. Okay, where is that? Same salary, same power, same salary, and same powers. Okay, why they have same power? Because they are JM first class is a lower level judge. He is not Chief Justice of India. Nyayadhikari is also a judge only, right? Why should they not have the same power? Why this anger, madam? Anyway, Garima, largely all the cases, because there's a time frame, right? 6 months. You have to get them resolved. So since these are petty issues, everything gets resolved. Okay. Now let's move on and firstly solve a question, and then we'll discuss further the very important topic called judicial activism. Mark the answer, please. Okay, so as per the Act, Gram Nyayalaya can hear only civil cases. Nonsense. Not civil cases, criminal cases. This is wrong. They can hear both a civil and a criminal case. The Act allows local social activists as mediators or reconciliators. Absolutely correct. B2 only is the right answer. Okay. Now, coming to which is going to be by far the most important topic, judicial activism. There will be a question from this topic, whether activism, good or bad, PIL, right? Advantages, challenges, etc. There is going to be a question from this topic. It is a must. 100% guarantee that you will be getting a question from this topic, right? Okay. So now let's discuss what exactly is judicial activism. I'll explain firstly through a diagram, hoping that you would understand what is judicial activism. In our country, we have three organs, each organ performing its own functions: L, E, and J. The legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Right? Now, when it comes to the legislature and executive, they have their own domains where they are performing their functions. Imagine the legislature is performing its functions very nicely, performing functions. But can you observe that there are some functions or some areas where it is not performing its functions, even though it lies in its own domain, but not performing those functions? Same goes for executive. Executive has been given the task to perform functions in a domain, and we are finding that they are not performing their tasks in certain areas, these areas. Now, ideally, judiciary's task is to limit itself in this zone. Yes or no? That's the task of judiciary, to limit itself in this zone of interpreting the laws. But because the legislature has failed to perform its duties, the executive has failed to perform its duties, the government is taking no step to solve the problem in the Manipur issue, right? If then judiciary can say, if you're not doing anything, somebody has to. We cannot let the rights of people be trampled upon just because you are lazy, you are lethargic, you have no interest. So judiciary starts entering the executive domain or the legislative domain. This is what is called activism. Activism. When the other organs have failed to perform their tasks properly, judiciary crosses its boundaries. Yes, it is wrong. It is undemocratic. It violates separation of power. I am in agreement with this. But the problem is that the judiciary has to also uphold the rights of people. Yes or no? I mean, it's a very important role that judiciary plays, that it has to ensure that the laws, the rights of people are not trampled upon. We normally say that the courts have to innovate new methods, new strategies to provide access to justice to large group of people, large masses who are denied the basic human rights, to whom freedom, to whom liberty has no meaning. Court has to innovate new ways to provide for such things. And if while doing it, it has to cross its boundaries, so be it. No problem. The court says we are willing to cross that Lakshman Rekha. We are willing to interfere in the other organs area also, because constitutional justification must be obtained from the executive, from E and L. On what? Their actions are reasonable. Number one, their actions are non arbitrary, and actions don't violate the rights of people. The action of L and E. So the Supreme Court says that we will see constitutional justification. Clear? In fact, what we say is that every institution has been given a conventional role, and they have been given conventional means to fulfill those roles. The task of judiciary, interpret laws; task of executive, implement laws; task of legislature, make laws, etc. Anything beyond this is activism. Simple. And how we define it is democracy's non-democratic alternative. Non-democratic. As I said, when judiciary interferes in other organs, yes, it violates separation of power. Who is denying it? It's non-democratic. It violates separation of powers. This concept, this doctrine is violated. But the democratic institutions have failed. These democratic institutions, when they fail to meet the obligations, perform their tasks, somebody has to, right? Otherwise, rights of people will trampled upon day in, day out. See, the idea is courts cannot be mute spectators when the constitutional rights of citizens are infringed upon by executive and legislative action. That's their duty. You are the custodian, guardian of the constitution. And the source, Article 142. The source, Article 32. The source, Article 226. These are all sources that to ensure complete justice, to protect rights of people, Supreme Court can issue writs. To protect rights of people, High Courts can issue writs. These are sources in the Constitution which allow the courts to interfere in the domain of other bodies. Now, the big question is, why is this being done? So, the reasons for activism. See, first things first, this concept of asymmetry of power in the Constitution. You'll be surprised to see that in our country, the power given to some organs is not in line with the other organs. For example, the very first class, Ram Javaya Kapoor case, defines executive functions as practically everything. Look at the current functions of the executive, they control everything. So, there is asymmetry of power in the sense that executive is extremely powerful, and because it is also a part of legislature, also controls legislature, right? So who will keep a check on this extremely powerful body, the executive? The judiciary. And this asymmetry has been given in the Constitution only. We are such that executive is more powerful. What to do? Somebody has to keep a check, right? Who will check? Judiciary. Then sometimes there is indifferent approach of the other organs. Indifferent approach. People are dying. The government is busy celebrating its electoral victory. People are suffering. The government is busy creating divide in the country. What is all this? See, people, the government, the politicians work for vote bank. Simple. It always reminds us of that scene from the movie Nayak, right? Uh, People who have seen Nayak, you would know that initial part of the movie, there's a scene when this actor Arjun or Anil Kapoor, they are recording that incident between the bus people, the bus drivers, bus conductors, etc., and the students, and it's all havoc, buses being burnt here and there, etc. So at that point of time, the police commissioner calls the chief minister. Remember the scene? And the police commissioner tells the CM that, sir, what to do? Should you do lathi charge, etc.? The commissioner says, don't, let it be. The CM says, don't, let it be. Let people cry, let people fight. Why? Because one group is my voter, the other group, same caste, the other group, they help me in the elections, in campaign. Let them cry, let them fight. They'll cry, fight, they'll get tired, they'll go home. Right? And we are witnessing today such things happening, even today. Irrespective of so many problems, the attention of our politicians is simply somewhere else, right? We are not saying, see, we don't like to want to sound like some left wing pseudo liberal communists who always have some problem with everything that the country does. But we have to also understand that you cannot simply ignore when the rights of people are being trampled upon. It's like the US Supreme Court mentioned the same thing, that during the pandemic, that a public health emergency does not give the governors in USA and other public officials the complete freedom to act on their own, to disregard the constitution as long as some kind of medical problem persists. just because there's some problem in the country, just because there's some function in the country, just because some foreign countries uh, heads premier's wife wears a sari, does not mean that suddenly India is a global superpower. There are other elements to it. You have to understand it. Firstly, the primary duty of every government is to strike the balance between feeding its citizens, protecting its own citizens also. That's also equally important, if not more, equally important, right? So all these things have to be there. Balance has to be found. So when these organs are indifferent, migrant crisis, right? Pandemic, people suffering, government not paying attention. Supreme Court says, come on, government, show me what steps have you taken. What is that? Ensuring interference, but is required. Then increasing awareness amongst masses. In the recent time, you must have seen that people are more and more aware about their rights, etc. So when you try to not perform properly, people file RTIs, people ask questions, people go to court, social media posts, campaigns, etc. run. So more awareness means more activism, means now the judiciary, the attention is constantly brought in the direction of all these areas where the government has failed to perform. Then globalization meaning that now the world is one global village. Whatever is happening in, say, some other parts of the country, other parts of the planet, are equally impacting us as well. We learn from everywhere, right? Now India is discussing very uh, modern concepts, the idea of consent, the importance of consent, things like marital rape. All these things are now being discussed on the table. Rights of transgenders, laws have been made now, right? LGBTQ plus rights. So we are now moving in a direction where we understand that people may be different. Everybody is an individual with their own dignity and self-respect. Everybody needs economic independence, all such things. All thanks to what we see across the globe. Then active media. Media has played a very important role in making people aware about their rights, not just us about our rights, but also making us aware about the violation of rights of other people in the country. That's also very important element, right? And then advent, the coming in of PIL. So the rise of PILs has also brought to the forefront this Supreme Court or the High Court's interference in the functioning of the legislature and executive by giving them directions. What is this PIL? Public interest litigation. See, the idea of PIL is very simple. PIL refers to, of course, public interest litigation. But the point is, see, in court cases, we have a concept of locus standi. Locus standi or locus standi. What is this locus standi? Think of it. Your house is robbed. Your house is robbed. Who will go and complain to police? You only. And then the police goes to court. So basically, you have filed a case in court because your house is robbed. Why should I file a case in court? It's of no concern to me. Right? That's your problem. If somebody is violating your fundamental right, that's your problem. You go and file a case in court. So locus standi means only affected person can approach the court. Only affected person or group can approach the court. Others cannot. But think of it. How would a poor person approach the court? How would, let's say, you go to your house every day. You are living in, say, some society, some flats, etc. Every day you hear in the next door the sounds coming of the spouse beating his wife or the wife beating the husband, whatever, right? Every day. Now you know very well. Let's say the husband is beating the wife every day. The wife is too afraid to herself go to court and file a case. Of course, she does not simply have the maybe the courage, knowledge, awareness. So it may not always be possible for us to have access to justice, right? So what we did was, or the courts did was, they said, okay, okay, no problem. If there is genuine interest or legitimate concern about public issues, right, then locus standi can be diluted. Can be diluted, meaning anyone can approach the court if public interest is served. For larger public interest, for genuine and legitimate concerns of the public, you can always approach the court, right? Even if you are not the affected party, right? Even if not directly affected. Simple. And this idea of PIL was propounded by Justice P.N. Bhagwati and Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer, two people who propounded the concept of PIL, that they started allowing people to file cases in the court even if those people were not directly impacted by something happening around them, right? And the most popular PIL, some people call this the mother of all PILs, and is normally taken to be the first ever PIL, though that is not correct, is the Hussain Khatun case of 1980. Though this is not the first PIL, I mean, Bombay Back Bay case of 1975 is actually the first PIL, right? But anyway, this is the most popular one. So basically, what happened in this case was, it was found that there were thousands of people later on. Originally, it was found that there were dozens of people lying in jails, languishing in jails as under trials for 5, 10, 12 years. No date was given to them. So these people went to court saying, what is this? There are these under trials in prison for so many years and not a single date being given. This is wrong. So to solve this problem, Supreme Court interfered, instructed the jail administration to take steps to get court dates for all these under trials immediately. It was found that across the country there were 40,000 such people living in jails for more than 5, 6 years without getting a single court date. Their case was not coming only for hearing in the court. Then the Supreme Court interfered, said, jail administration, you are not doing your task properly. Get all the court dates for all these people. Now, whose task is it to ensure that the case is filed in the court date is given, etc.? The police, executive. But they are not doing the task properly. So judiciary has to interfere and tell them, do your task properly. Come on, get a court date quickly. Come on, go. This is called activism. Through PIL, the court interfered, forcing the executive to perform their task. Are we clear on what is the concept of activism? And are we clear on what is PIL? So there are some very standard examples of PILs. You can mug up these examples and quote them in your answers. For example, the PILs in case of prison reforms, like these are all Supreme Court judgments. Humanizing prison administration. The prison administration has to be humanized. You have to treat prisoners with decency and dignity. Under trials in jail, this was the Husainara Khatun judgment of 1980. Then, right to speedy trial. You cannot have the prisoners or the under trials sitting in jail for 20 years. Quick trials should take place. Trial meaning court proceedings. They have to be fast. Don't delay it. This was a case called Kadra Pahadia case of 1983. These are all landmark judgments to ensure respect and dignity for prisoners as well. Humane treatment of detainees. When you have detained somebody, please treat them with decency. No lathis on them. DK Basu case, 1997. Or limiting solitary confinement. Supreme Court has reiterated this so many times, including the Shatrughan Chauhan case. Don't place people under solitary confinement. Avoid excessive handcuffing. Please don't go and handcuff people randomly. When you arrest somebody, handcuffing is an exception, right? Sunil Batra. In fact, when you handcuff somebody, that's what the cinema says, right? Whenever the police comes, they'll show the handcuff first thing. That's not a norm. Handcuffing should be done rarely. If the accused may show signs of aggression and can abscond, and for that also permission is required from the magistrate, right? Then in the area for women, so sexual harassment at workplace, this now it's a law in our country. If you know, in 2013 post the Nirbhaya case, there's a law in the country called Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act of 2013. But in 1997 there was a judgment called Vishakha judgment, where the Supreme Court gave guidelines on for every institution, private or public, to have posh prevention of sexual harassment at their workplace. Proper guidelines to be followed to prevent sexual harassment, because this case was a direct result of a Bhavri Devi rape case which happened in the early 1990s in Rajasthan, where a woman was raped for just performing her duties, right? To prevent child marriages in her village, the upper caste people, it is alleged that they raped her. Though nobody was punished, this case was of early 1990s, and Bhavari Devi, not the murder case, the rape case, the lady Bhavari Devi, still fighting for justice only. It's been 30 years, right? Of course, the court has all the time in the world for rich elite people, but for the poor, deprived, maybe justice can only be served in the other world, not this world. But yes, this resulted in the court giving an order to form guidelines. And this Vishaka guidelines were the guidelines issued by the court to prevent any kind of harassment of women at workplace for 16 long years in the country. No law was there. The court's order was acting like a law. Then nutritional and feeding norms. So this is a case, PUCL case. PUCL is an NGO, People's Union for Civil Liberties. So nutritional norms and feeding norms for women who are pregnant, who are lactating. So the state has to take care of their feeding and nutritional norms. Inheritance of property rights, again, equality for women. Regulating the sale of acid, Lakshmi case. The very famous Lakshmi case, right? And not just this, treatment of victims also. So in our country, this has been a very peculiar kind of problem where these one-sided relationships happen, and the jilted lover will the belief perpetrated by cinema is that if you can't be mine, you won't be belong to anybody, as if a woman is an object who has to belong to somebody, and you throw acid on the person's face. It does not just scar the person for life, it also is excruciating pain. And I mean, we know very well the limit to which human beings can go to meet their perverse and depraved nature, right? Anyway, so the needs of their behavior. So the Supreme Court in the Lakshmi case instructed the government to ensure that no asset is sold without the collection of ID proof, right? So you cannot actually sell asset without collecting the ID proof. That will not be allowed. Now, you may say, sir, but still it is being sold in the open. Now, Supreme Court can only give judgments. It's for the executive to implement the order properly. Supreme Court judges can't go to every shopkeeper and say, come on, show me data. Where are you selling the asset with ID proof? That can't be done. Then separate lockups for women. This is again through a judgment, though it is already there in the law, but still it was rarely being followed. But then Supreme Court gave instruction that this better be followed, right? Then you must have heard this no arrest before, so after sunset, before sunrise, etc. for women. That is also through a Supreme Court judgment only. Bharti Khandar case of 2012. All these are examples, classic examples of Supreme Court's interference to protect women's rights. Then for child rights, in the area of upholding child rights, so we have juvenile courts. Juvenile courts should be established, should be created with trained officers who can understand the problems faced by a minor, a child, and how to deal with the cases involving minors, either facing crime or victims or committing crime. So this is also a case, Sheila Barse, 1987, or preventing child labor. So now there is no child labor in circuses. That is through a case filed by one NGO. I hope you know this NGO, Bachpan Bachao Andolan. This NGO is run by the Nobel laureate Kailash Satyarthi. So he worked for so many years, but only became popular after winning the Nobel Prize, because there's nothing that the country needs more and celebrates more than appreciation from the Western countries. So if you make an amazing movie, that's not sufficient. But if the movie gets an Oscar, oh, that's the real victory, right? So anyway, we will never get past that colonial mentality, sadly. Then, in match factories, kids not allowed to work in match factories. MC Mehta case. MC Mehta is a very famous social activist. Or kids will not work in carpet factories. Again, through an NGO. This was the Bandhua Mukti Morcha. All these coming from courts, or even something as basic as preventing ragging. So the guidelines given to educational institutions to prevent ragging, that has come from what? Supreme Court judgment. The Vishwa Jagriti Mission case of 2001 is the one case which ensured that what? Guidelines are given to in every school and college to prevent ragging. Supreme Court judgment. These are all tasks that the parliament should perform, the executive should perform. Then in the field of environment, healthy environment. Healthy environment is a part of Article 21. Now you will say, what is Article 21? Article 21 is right to life. So Supreme Court says that it's as important as life, healthy environment. And this is again a part of a judgment, this Dehradun quarrying case. So when this comes to this case, this was a rural litigation and environment kendra which passed this, which fought this case way back in 1988 to win this case, where the Supreme Court said that right to a healthy environment is a part of your fundamental rights. Then things like polluter pays principle, absolute liability principle, you'll be discussing all these in your environment classes, and what is the concept of all these things. So if because of your action the environment has been damaged, you are liable to pay for the entire loss caused to the environment. Okay. Then firecracker ban, right? So firecracker ban done by the Supreme Court in the Arjun Gupta case 2017. Arjun Gupta case 2017, or Bharat Stage 4 and also Stage 6 implementation. So what are these Stage 4 and Stage 6 implementations? Basically, in your again environment class, we'll be discussing about this only, that when it comes to these Bharat Stage norms, these are vehicular emission norms. In your vehicles, in your vehicles, what can be the permissible limit of NOx and SOx, nitrogen and sulfur oxides, right? So this is the emission norm, the vehicular emission norm. And for that you have to modify your vehicle engine, which is lot of effort for any automobile company. But the government, when it came to the when it came to giving instructions to these automobile companies, was very strict and did not want to give instructions. Why? Because it did not want to jeopardize the growth, etc., in the country, and also did not want to antagonize these automobile sectors who were large fund MNCs funding the parties. So they kept quiet. The Supreme Court finally said, wait. We will give instruction. Come on, change your vehicles, meet the new standards. That's why you have now the BS6 standards vehicles, BS6 vehicles coming up, right? So all this is there. Muskan, is it 2017? Yes, madam, it is 2017 only. It won't be 1917, right? Firecracker ban. 1917 is not justified. 2017. Then, in the field of governance also, criminal antecedents. Pavitra, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Telangana, and Karnataka. These are 6 states. Pavitra, what happened to you? Suddenly, why these 6 states? And these are 5 only. Where are 6 states? And what for what? These 6 states? Anyway, governance, criminal antecedents, history of candidates. So let me tell you that now any person who wants to file a case in the court, file a contest in the elections, right? You have to mention in your nomination paper how many pending criminal cases are there against you. It's mandatory. Where is it mentioned? Supreme Court judgment. There was a case called PUCL case of 2003 where the Supreme Court gave orders that if you want to contest elections, you have to give data. What is the number of criminal cases against you? Right? Appointing special investigation teams. Right? Then a very famous case where this was the Vineet Narayan case, where the Supreme Court said to maintain the independence of the director of CBI, we need to ensure that whoever becomes the director of CBI is appointed by a committee. Committee comprising of what? The Prime Minister, the Chief Justice of India, and leader of opposition Lok Sabha. And recently also in the Anup Barnwal case, Supreme Court gave the judgment 2023 that what? That to appoint the members of election commission, there should be a recommendation from a committee comprising of these three people. Clear? These are all interferences by the Supreme Court in various cases to ensure that the rights of people and groups are not violated by the inaction or the arbitrary action of the executive or legislature. Now, these are all classic examples. Mug up these examples. I have also given some recent examples that you can incorporate in your answers, right? To make your answers more current oriented. So, this very interesting case, I think people would know that Madras High Court just gave I would not say a scolding, but actually, so in Madras, what has happened is that this, sorry, in Tamil Nadu, Senthil Balaji has is a minister. Now he is under custody. Despite being under custody, he's still a minister, and minister without any portfolio. He has no task. He has he has not been allocated any ministry, and still he's a minister, enjoying all the benefits. So Madras High Court in the S. Ramachandran case 2023 recently told the government, please come on, what are you doing? Think over it. And it said that the founding fathers of our constitution may not have comprehended uh, the corrosion of good and clean governance to such an extent that a person would be retained as a minister without a portfolio, that too while in custody. Nor did they envisage that the executive head would reward an elected member with the status of the rank of minister, though finding him not fit to discharge the responsibilities of a minister, right? And they have said that a minister without a portfolio is a constitutional travesty, right? Something very unique, that you are a minister but without any portfolio. Then basically you are a minister for namesake only, minister without work. So scolding by the Madras High Court. Let's see. Anyway, then in our various courts, we have seen cases where if there's any kind of asset attack happening, then the courts come forward and ensure compensation is given to victims of these asset attacks. Like say in the case of Uttarakhand High Court ordered compensating the victim with 35 lakh rupees. Calcutta High Court ordered in one case with respect to around 20 lakh rupees. This is very common. Then recently, Gujarat High Court actually upheld a government's order saying that the parents who are forcing their kids below 3 years to attend a preschool are committing an illegal activity, right? So you should not send your kid below 3 years to a preschool. Okay, 3 years of preschooling, and then at the age of 6, you enter class 1. Some parents would send their kids to school at the age of 2 years only, and at the age of 5, now they want their kid to come to a school also. So court said, no, 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 that's not possible. It's all illegal. Please don't force your kid to study like that. Then in Telangana, the Telangana government said that a lot of people have wrongfully obtained. They have wrongfully obtained what? They have wrongfully obtained ration cards. 19 lakh people's ration card was cancelled on the spot without any verification. Nothing was done. Cancelled. Ration card cancelled. Simply. So Supreme Court said that what is this? Please go and conduct on-field verification. Verify whether you are cancelling the ration card of people who are not covered only, and not cancelling those ration card holders who are genuine, right? Then in the states of Gujarat and Rajasthan, you have all these in the desert areas, solar energy, etc., is being generated. And when the electricity is generated, it is transmitted through these power lines, right? The electric wires that you see. Now, in these areas, desert areas, so because of the mirage and stuff, from a very far off distance, those transmission lines are not visible to birds. Birds like the great Indian bustard and the lesser fluoricans also. So these birds, they simply fly and they come too close, so close to the transmission line that when they come very close, they are not able to change their route suddenly. They are heavy birds, and because of that, they collide and they die. So the Supreme Court told these two state governments that what are you doing? What steps are you taking? Please install bird diverters. So there's a plastic box installed on transmission lines, which the birds can see from a far off distance and change their course of flight. So these are things that the Supreme Court interferes in on a daily basis. The high courts interfere to give instructions to the government to improve the administration, protecting the lives of people, interests of people, animals, etc. Everything. All because our governments are too busy doing anything. Right? So these are some recent examples. You can mug up these. They'll serve you good for at least 2-3 years of the examination. That should be sufficient. Right? Now, let's take a break. After a break, a short break, only 10 minutes, not too much because we'll have a lunch break at 1. So come back at 12:10 and we'll discuss the positive implications of activism, challenges pertaining to activism, etc. Break, please. Narendra, there is an ordinance. The EC is elected through. There is no ordinance, Narendra. It's just a bill, not an ordinance. We'll discuss that later on. Don't worry. Don't use the word ordinance so casually. Kambapati, it's separate here. You have to study a lot of things separately. Very small portion of it gets covered. No, Pradeep, that's not appropriate. Deepa, PIL is activism. So Deepa, mediator. Who is a mediator? Mediator is a person, or a conciliator is a person who acts as an intermediary between two people. If you and your friend are fighting over some issue, that why did you not call me first, why did you not text me first, a third person, a common friend, act as a mediator or a conciliator. That's called a conciliator. What else do we have? All done? All okay? Let's proceed now to look at some positive implications of activism. What, after all, is the advantage of activism? Are we clear? Okay, so positive implications. First up, it prevents undue discretion in administrative decisions. See, when we know that the Supreme Court has this power to uh, make statements, give orders, observations, conclusions with respect to the functioning of any organ, it of course also means that the particular organ, if it tries to act in an arbitrary fashion, then the courts can interfere. For example, for example, in our country, reservation is a very controversial topic, especially when it comes to OBC reservation, because the governments over the course of time have used this for their vote bank advantage. So, in the case of, say, Maharashtra, reservation for Marathas, when the government allowed for reservation for Marathas, Supreme Court cancelled it, saying no. Or in the Ram Singh judgment, the OBC reservation for Jats. So, such things which are devoid of any logic, rationale, and you take your decisions, your administrative decisions solely for vote bank politics, the courts can cancel it. Secondly, it has also promoted transparency in governance. How? I just gave the example of all the PILs with respect to governance. Even recently, when the government was found to be lacking, found to be wanting in taking action in the Manipur case, the Supreme Court came down heavily on the government, stating that it would be very very important for the government to take immediate action. If they don't, we will have to interfere, right? So the court said we will have to interfere if the government is a mute spectator, right? So it also ensures that the government takes proactive steps and is not sitting lethargic, not doing anything, because they know that there is somebody who is watching their action with detailed scrutiny. Then, sometimes, as I said in the example, the very good example was of the Bharat stage norms only, that the government, either 4 or 6, that the government sometimes does not want to take the tough decisions because it may complicate the matters, right? Vote bank gets impacted. For example, the issue of Sabrimala, allowing the entry of women in the place of worship. Now, government has remained silent. Why? Very simple. If the government says, okay, entry of women allowed, then all the people who are believers in the faith, the women there, men there, everybody now is extremely unhappy with that, right? If you say women not allowed, then all the people who support this idea that there should be equality in place of worship, they become angry. So what do you do? Quiet. Do nothing. Simple. And if you do nothing, see, the best way is what? If you don't want to fail in the examination, don't take the examination. No exam, no failure. Same thing here. Let the court decide. That's one of the, no, I think, learning agenda in our in the Lavasna. It seems that they tell all the officers, don't take tough decisions. Let the court decide. The court will decide everything for you, and then you can simply tell the people, see, we are only implementing court's decisions. Don't blame us. That's there. Then, you know, over the course of so many years, it's now almost 73 years of our constitution being in place. If you look at most of the parts of our constitution, they have largely been modified because of what? They have largely been modified because of because of Supreme Court's orders. One such example is Article 21. Right to life and liberty. Article 21 says every person has a right to their life and liberty, personal liberty. My point is, what is right to life? Merely living, surviving. Then everybody is living and surviving. Supreme Court has said no, that's not Article 21. That's not right to life. Right to life is beyond that. Right to life includes right to live with dignity, right against public hanging, right to sleep, right against solitary confinement, right against noise pollution, right against air pollution, right to speedy trial, right against handcuffing, right against bar fitters. All these are right to privacy, right to reputation. All these are now a part of Article 21. See, we constantly have to expand the scope of fundamental rights. Constant. And all this has been done through the various judgments, expanding the scope of fundamental rights. What was wrong 50 years ago is okay now. What was okay 50 years ago is wrong now. We never end this process of evolution. We keep on evolving ever and ever and ever. That's the human process. Nobody can be liberal enough. Nobody can be woke enough. To us, our parents are conservative. To the coming generations, we are conservative. 40 years back, it was okay to smoke in a plane flying in the air, comprising of asthma patients, old people, small kids, pregnant ladies. Now it's unthinkable, right? 50 years ago, transgenders, no, forget rights. They were not even considered to be human beings. We have improved our behavior now. We now understand, right? It's just uh, one more gender. Same respect, same dignity finally being given to the people who deserve the same respect and dignity, right? 40 years ago, uh, the idea of live-in relationships was unthinkable, right? Abhorrent. Now it's okay. In fact, Recently, in the MTP Act, the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, Supreme Court actually expanded the definition of a married woman. So married women were allowed to abort the kid, abort the fetus, not the kid, but the fetus, the child. Now Supreme Court said that with the changing socio-economic circumstances, now it is not just that only a person who is married can get pregnant, even unmarried women can get pregnant. So Supreme Court has clarified that in the MTP Act, the meaning of the word married woman would also include unmarried women. So we always keep on changing, keep on improving. So never think that we are now at the apex of liberalism. It is never going to be there. We will always have our preconceived biases, preconceived notions, and slowly and steadily these will go away. Oh, and again, we'll have some new preconceived notions, new biases, which again will have to be removed. We always keep on improving. Then there are certain areas of inaction, such as in the case of environment, police reforms, electoral reforms, corruption, where the courts interfere. To give you a very recent example, did the court not set up a oversight mechanism to supervise the violence mitigation in Manipur, comprising of retired High Court judge, former IPS officer? What is that? A classic example of Supreme Court saying that government, if you do not take any action, we'll take an action, right? Then it has played a complementary role with respect to parliament. Look at the uh, example of Vishakha guidelines only. In the case of Vishakha guidelines was the only guideline in the country which every institution followed to prevent sexual harassment at workplace. Even now, post the Nirbhaya case, we have a law, but still the law is popularly called Vishakha guidelines only. So all those people who are working in some companies somewhere, you will find that in your company, the POSH, the prevention of sexual harassment, is popularly known as Vishaka guidelines, because Parliament did not make a law. The court's order acted like a law, right? In fact, in the Shakti Vahini case a few years back in 2018, the Supreme Court did say that any attempt by the CAP to scuttle or prevent two consenting adults from getting married is illegal. So they constantly keep on ensuring that if the executive and the legislature don't interfere, they are uh, just lazing around, we will have to interfere. That's the same idea here. Now I hope you understand the example here, that if the legislature and executive don't perform their tasks which are given to them, right, then somebody else has to perform the task. The judiciary performs the task. Now, did we understand this diagram? Everybody? All okay? Garima, first page it is mentioned till 8 p.m. the class will go on. But then to also bring to light in front of you certain concerns, certain concerns that we have when it comes to uh, judiciary. What kind of concerns? Let me point some things out to you. Sometimes judiciary does not take any action, even if the matter is very, very important. For example, just recently, there was a case filed by Ashwini Kumar Upadhyay, and this case was on having uniform marriage age. Now, Case not really important, so let's ignore it. The story here is that in certain religions, you will find that uh, kids under 18 are getting married, which actually violates the basic idea of you giving the right to consent. Kids under 18 have no right to give consent. They are minors. We treat them as minors because you don't understand the consequences of consent, right? So marrying them would be actually illegal. But lot of personal laws allow for such marriages. Lot of personal laws allow these marriages. This person approached the court saying, "Sir, my lords, please give guidelines that nobody should get married under the age of 18." The court said, "Sorry, Parliament should decide." Why? In other cases, you decide. Now, suddenly, Parliament decides. Nonsense, right? Just this year only, 20th of February 2023, the three-judge bench dismissed the petition, saying Parliament will decide. Or just recently, there was a case filed with respect to seeking cool-off period for retired judges. So basically, in our country, what has been observed recently is that some of these judges who retire, they take up some very lucrative post. Now, Bombay Lawyers Association filed a case and they quoted an example of S. Abdul Nazir. S. Abdul Nazir is the current governor of Andhra Pradesh, or Justice Gogoi, who is an MP in the Rajya Sabha. S. Abdul Nazir and Justice Gogoi were both a part of the Ram Janmabhoomi judgment, the Babri Masjid judgment. S. Abdul Nazir was also a part of the demonetization case, and in both these cases, he gave a judgment in favor of the ruling party. Now, see, let me tell you something. An independent judiciary is responsible for upholding the rule of law, right? Which is considered to be a prerequisite for any democratic form of government. That is why the independence of judiciary is a part of basic structure of the constitution. Hence, accepting these political appointments in our country by the judges of the Supreme Court, of the High Courts, uh, after retirement without any cool off period, meaning a break, this adversely impacts public perception. I am not saying S. Abdul Nazir is corrupt or Justice Gogoi was corrupt. No, no, no. Not at all. Who are we to make all these statements? Right? The point is, public perception is very important. We keep on maintaining this. Justice should be done, it should be seen to have been done. Principles of natural justice, fairness gets violated, right? The objective of separation of power appears to be defeated if the judges of constitutional courts, high court and supreme courts, they accept political appointments after their retirement and just after they retire, right? We remember back in 1970s, Justice Hidayatullah, he waited for 9 years after his retirement and then he contested for the post of election of president, right? 9 years, so that there is no association between him and any party. The point is that when you retire immediately and there's no break, then you can give towards the fag end of your career some judgment favoring ruling party and then get some appointment from the ruling party as a governor, as a Rajya Sabha nominee. This is what people will perceive, frankly, right? So it's very important to have some kind of cool off period. What did the Supreme Court say? The issue of whether I'm verbatim quoting the court's order, if I can recollect the exact line. The issue of whether a retired judge should accept any office has been left for the better sense of the judge concerned, or a law has to be enacted, which is not a subject matter of the court's direction. Petition dismissed. Are we leaving things now to the better sense of a judge or some politician? Is that what we have come down to now? Please have faith in the person. Is this how we run the country? Having faith, laws, and when you say the let the parliament make a law, Supreme Court interferes in so many cases. But here you are saying let the parliament decide. But if the parliament had to decide, they would have decided. I remember back in 2009, when the Delhi High Court gave a judgment to decriminalize homosexuality, Supreme Court cancelled the judgment, saying no, let the parliament decide. After 4 years, the parliament did not decide. Supreme Court on its own went ahead and decriminalized homosexuality. Then where was this logic of yours? So the issue is that we are completely confused. What exactly are you trying to achieve? There is no coherence in your ideas. Let me tell you, give more examples here. Some other places, uh, places where you have inaction, a long waiting period, finally after 4 years, Article 370 petition was heard. CAA yet to be decided. Shaheen Bagh protests. No interference from Supreme Court at all. They are silent, mute spectators. Farmers protests. Refrain from making statements. Even the EWS reservation, it took the court 3 years to decide on such a crucial matter. Whereas we have seen a sense of urgency in the country when it comes to deciding on Arnab Goswami's petition, Kanna Ranaut's petition. I mean, these petitions are decided immediately, right? So much of enthusiasm has been shown in deciding on the Ratan Tata and Cyrus Mistry dispute, whereas people like Siddiqui Kapan were chained in jail, Mathura jail, uh, like animals for 6 months, 8 months. No step being taken by the government or the courts. Silent, right? Stan Swami died in jail. Now, let me just tell you, I have no inclination to support Stan Swami, his ideologies, and any of the beliefs that he has. I have no attachment whatsoever to the communists. That's something I very clearly say. Because in our country, they are not truly liberal people. They are just pseudo liberals whose only agenda is to wreak havoc in the country by destroying all the institutions. They don't have any faith in anything. So we cannot even call them mentally sane to understand what is the intricacy of equality. But that is not the point. Whether we believe in your political ideology or not, we will always stand up for your rights. Unlike these left wing liberals who don't stand up for anybody else's right until and unless you don't believe in their ideology. So Stan Swami died in jail at the age of 80 plus. What is the threat from him? Supreme Court showing no interest. People are dying in jail, and Supreme Court has shown urgency in accepting cases and dismissing petitions, etc. Right? The likes of great celebs never see the jail, even though the entire country knows that it's not the driver who was driving the car, but the celeb who was driving the car. But just because I can bash some goons on screen, I can dance in a weird fashion, I have a huge fan following, I'm correct. Or just because I'm a very big politician and I can speak English very well, petition dismissed. Where is the fairness? There is no fairness. And then comes the problem. The big problem of over enthusiasm. So, Supreme Court says that there should be a ban on firecrackers. The original ban on firecrackers was done without any study or research. It is only later on that a research was done, study was done. So I am not against ban on firecrackers, but without any data, just based on belief. And you would not make any statement against the farmers for stubble burning. Why? Because if I mention and scold the farmers, I'll be seen as anti-poor. Sir, you are always playing a favorite. My lords, don't have to worry. Let the politicians play favorites. You should be correct only. Somebody has to speak the truth. If we all keep on being sycophants only, then how will the country function? Just because you are poor does not make you right. Just because you are rich does not make you wrong. So if somebody is causing some environmental damage, the Supreme Court should call them out. But no, no statements, complete silence on any atrocity committed by any of the paramilitary forces in the Northeast, despite allegations. Why? What if people call me anti-Indian? You are being called anti-human. What more do you want? Then, Supreme Court's logic: ban the sale of liquor on national highways within 500 meters. Ban on sale of liquor on national highways. See, this case, K. Balu case of 2016, where Supreme Court said that, because of people drinking and driving, accidental deaths are happening. Supreme Court did not even have the time to open the NCRB data and see the data. Since at least 2010, 2011 onwards, every year's data can be validated to state that the real concern, the cause of death, is overspeeding and poor condition of roads. Less than 3% people die because of drunken driving. Right? So that's also a very serious concern. And what is this 500-meter range? If I am driving a car on the highway, can I not go inside the highway 600 meters and purchase and come out? So all these unnecessary interference. Then the entire fervor in this country is about cricket. Cricket. Now, Supreme Court has interfered by trying to control BCCI. So much of enthusiasm. Lodha committee, Vinod Rai committee. Well, BCCI is a private body. Let the government handle it. But no, interference. Then this race. Who is more nationalist? That's a race in our country right now. Like earlier, we had this race. Who is appreciating Muslims more? Now, who is appreciating Hindus more? Tomorrow, Christians more. This is what we'll do. Now, who is a real Indian? So, a few years back, Supreme Court gave a judgment. The judgment was that every theater should play the national anthem. Every movie theater should play national anthem. And you have to stand up for the anthem. Firstly, there is no such law in the country which says that you have to stand up for the anthem. We stand up for the anthem because we respect the anthem, right? That comes naturally. These, the sense of patriotism should be inculcated from the childhood, it has been done in the school days. It is there. Secondly, what is a theater got to do with playing the anthem? No relationship. And how does it How does it improve the respect for the anthem? Imagine in the theater, you play the anthem first, followed by some Imran Hashmi movie or some kind of an adult movie with crass language and crude scenes. Does that elevate the status of the anthem? I mean, all those people here who believe in some religion, do you read your religious verses at any place, anytime, as you like? Is there some decorum or not? It's the anthem. That's why we don't sing the anthem, we perform the anthem. And just because I want to prove it, I am the real nationalist, giving all these orders. And if at all I want to stand up or not, it should come from the government or the parliament, not you. Supreme Court has no right to tell me whether I should stand up or not. I'll stand up if I want to, and I'll stand up if there's a law. Both these things. Now, Home Ministry has given an order. That's okay. But mandatory playing of anthem, mandatory performance of anthem in theaters. These are all examples of Supreme Court showing over enthusiasm. What is this collegium system? We all saw this yesterday. Collegium system is a classic example of what? Classic example of judiciary denying executive any role in the appointment. Are other countries not running properly despite the executive and legislature appointing judges? So this means that Indian politicians are the worst human beings, and judges here are the most honest. How is this possible? This is not possible, right? If in general we are corrupt, everybody is corrupt. If in general we are honest, everybody is honest. It cannot be the case that I belong to a judiciary family, I am certainly honest naturally. No. So this is again a classic case where they are crossing their boundary. Sometimes the courts are so careless. Casual remarks in courts criticizing institutions. Supreme Court has called CBI caged parrot, calls Lokpal paper tiger, calls NHRC toothless tiger. Are you some kind of a school bully, school gunda, who keeps on calling names to every other institution? If we call a name to you, you will launch a contempt of court case against us. So you cannot tolerate any criticism, but you sit there and make fun of everybody. Couple of years back, in Madras High Court, this problem was raised. One candidate, Vijay Bhaska, he filed a case that in the polling booth, election commission could not maintain order properly, and that is why what happened was that people did not turn up to vote. I lost the election. Now, the idea being that during pandemic, yes, this was a challenge. Maintaining social distancing was a challenge. But then Supreme Court, the Madras High Court in the court says, election commission officials, you should be booked for murder charges. Don't make all these statements. These kind of aggressive statements, emotional statements, outburst is best left for some newsroom discussion or the discussion at a dining table or the living room discussion in the house amongst our uncles, right? Retired uncles. It's not, it does not behoove of the authority of Supreme Court to have these discussions. It is not appropriate to make such casual remarks. And when this remark was made, ECI came out. ECI says, it is not our task to maintain decorum and social distancing outside polling booth. It's the task of the state disaster management authority. Now SDMA came out. It said, but during election, inside the polling booth, it's the task of election commission. Now both these are fighting. Madras High Court judges sitting back and enjoying. Oh, come on, fight. This is what you're doing. So there are situations where you are overstepping the boundary, telling the government, oh, not like that. Do it like I tell you to. Are you understanding it? See, till you are telling the government and the legislature to perform a task which they are not performing, okay. But sometimes you are crossing that boundary and telling them that, no, no, not like that. Do it like I tell you to do it. So basically, the idea is an extreme form of activism where arbitrary, unreasonable interventions are made by the judiciary in the domain of, say, the legislature or the executive, where the court tries to encroach upon the role of legislature by making laws, right? Or the role of executive by trying to implement laws, giving directions. So this, in this diagram, can be seen best with this. When you cross the boundary and interfere in that area also where the executive is performing, where the legislature is performing, this is what is known as overreach. Adventurism, populism. When you try to encroach upon the functions of executive and legislature despite them performing those functions, that is wrong. This is what we have to stop. Nobody is telling you activism is wrong. It's needed, but this is not required. And what can be the possible concern here? Firstly, of course, it's a violation of separation of powers. Of course, goes without saying. Now think of it. A good example is your own examination hall. When you write answers in the examination hall and you're writing your answer, suddenly the invigilator comes beside you and stands and starts looking in your notebook. What are you writing? You start getting awkward. That, by you please leave from here. I want to freely write the answer. Right? Excessive scrutiny makes everybody uncomfortable. Think for your own life that, let's say, tomorrow, you have you woke up in the morning in full mode to study and prepare, study seriously. You have taken bath on time, are about to sit and take out your book. Just before that, you took out your mobile to say switch it off and go on airplane mode. But you took the mobile in your hand, suddenly your mom crosses the room and she sees you with the mobile and she says, always on the phone, never studying. And she comments and she leaves. Now, do you think you have any mood to study now? Your entire mood is spoiled. Now you say, I won't study now. This is what happens. Excessive interference causes unnecessary delays in decision making. Because if I know that there is somebody at the top who is always on my head, trying to scrutinize everything I do, right, with maximum precision, I will become too lethargic. I'll say, it's okay, I won't do anything. Because if I do, you'll find mistakes only. Let's not do anything. You only decide. You tell me what to do. Right? If somebody keeps on interfering in everything you do, then at one point of time you get so pissed off, you say, okay, you tell me how to do. I'll do what you want to do. Right? So this is there. Then government projects, they always get delayed because of what? Because of the courts interfering. And courts do one thing only. They interfere in any case and put a stay order. Stay order. Nothing happens, no construction, no work. And now the case is pending. The case is pending because the court is busy enjoying taking up a case uh, of where a celebrity has filed a case. And you'll be surprised. See, I don't want to demean any lawyer who has vast experience in the field of law, but if you ever now look at the debates offered by some of these so-called great lawyers of great repute, you will be surprised at how the judges are even tolerating these lawyers. In the Article 370 debate, some of these lawyers were giving such baseless arguments, and yet the court was fully tolerating it and encouraging a detailed discussion. Sometimes you have to put your foot down and say, this is nonsense, shut up, next argument. But no, that's why, how will we ever have trust and belief in you when you give undue preference to some other group of people, right, who are your favorites? Because of course you celebrate parties and functions together, you meet the same kind of people, the similar group, and you feel that's your world. Those are the most important people, most intellectual people, who are masters in everything. Then it has led to inter-institutional conflict. I gave the example of Madras High Court statement, ECI versus State Disaster Management Authority, right? And then the possibility of personal bias creeping in. Is that not possible? Are judges immune to personal bias? Ambedkar has mentioned the same thing. We have seen on so many occasions judges' personal bias creeps in, where they are completely biased in favor or against something, which reflects in all their judgments, including our CJI, whose personal bias of being ultra pro max liberal comes out at various points of time, without any concern for the country's cultural conscience, without any concern for what can be repercussion, right? So, I mean, the discussions going on with respect to a person being free to decide their own sex and choose their own pronouns. We are all up for it. You want to decide your own sex? Do it. Choose your own pronouns? Do it. Don't force others to follow it, right? Look at what is happening in the West. Men who just feel like they're women being allowed to take part in women's sports, coming off as winners, right? So the idea always has to be ensuring equality of opportunity. Nobody ever said men and women are equal. They have different physiological features, structure, different capacity, capability. The sense of equality should come in opportunity. Just because you are a man, there should not be any special benefit of opportunity. Just because you are a woman, there should not be any denial of opportunity. That is the equality. Right? We should ask our milords that if you allow people to choose their own gender, will you allow a man who claims to be a woman to use and share a washroom with your 6-year old girl child? And if anything happens, then who is responsible? Your liberal values. So, when we make all these liberal assumptions, we have to also understand that human beings are capable of doing extremely pervasive activities also. Then, see, issues in our country are polycentric in nature. When I say polycentric, I mean to say multiple stakeholders are involved. For example, think of this very simple thing. When it comes to any kind of issue, say setting up an industry, you want to set up a factory. Government of India, government of state, the people there whose land is being taken away, people who want employment, the MNC, all these are involved, local NGOs, etc. So many stakeholders are involved when you launch just one project. The right way to solve problems is through discussions, deliberation, discussions. Courts are not meant for discussions. Courts are meant for adversarial outcomes. A versus B. A wins, B loses. It's not a ground for mediation. Polycentric issues need discussion. Courts cannot offer these kind of things. Court can only give you a judgment where somebody wins, the other person loses. Then, problem of knowledge deficit. So, example, technical matters. Judges may be experts in the field of law, but they may not have the requisite knowledge in a technical matter. There may be a case going on between Qualcomm and, say, MediaTek, two companies, on some Snapdragon processor. Case is filed. Judge says, what dragon? Chinese dragon. That's possible. The judges don't have expertise in all these things. On religious matters, they don't have expertise. Despite that, they give judgments on every possible religious matter, right? So that's not justified. That you interfere everywhere. Clear? And lastly, the abuse of PIL. So PILs are allowed to be filed, but we know very well that in our country, lawyers abuse PILs. In fact, PILs are known as paisa income litigation, or please initiate my legal career. A very good example is of this person, Shrikant Malushthe. Just to become popular, he filed a PIL, the very famous national anthem case. So if you demonstrate the national anthem, perform it, you will read that, you will find that it contains a phrase, Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha. Right? Punjab, Sindh was in the original text also of 1917. Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha. He says Punjab, India, Gujarat, India, Maratha, India, Sindh is in Pakistan. Our national anthem is interfering with the sovereignty of Pakistan. Court also got confused. What the hell is this? Home Ministry was called. Then the Home Ministry and the Sindhi community in the country collectively said that, see, Punjab, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha, they don't represent an area, they represent the way of life, the culture. Sindh represents the culture which the Sindhi community has. And the petition was dismissed and he was scolded. Or in the case of this Ajay Dahiya, Rajiv Dahiya of the Suraj India Trust. This fellow filed 64 PILs in 5 years. Every month, one PIL. And all PILs were dismissed. Finally, after 5 years, Supreme Court said, enough is enough. Please pay a fine. 25 lakh rupees of fine was imposed on this person. But that's the case, that people misuse these PILs, keep on filing cases in the court, right? So these are some of the issues that plague us when it comes to the judicial activism. Clear? And any doubt? Muskan, first point. This first point or this first point? This first point. See, the idea in the behind this first point is that any issue that in our country which involves setting up factories, etc., they are polycentric issues, right? I'm just giving an example of what is a polycentric issue. Polycentric meaning multiple stakeholders are involved. Polycentric, poly, multiple, right? So multiple stakeholders are involved, multiple people are involved in that issue. I just mentioned this example that if you set up an industry, many people are involved, right? Multiple stakeholders. Multiple people or groups are getting impacted or affected. That issue is called a polycentric issue. Are we clear, Muskan and Pavitra? Okay. So if you have this kind of issue, the court can only give a judgment in favor of one and against other groups. But when multiple people are involved, the right approach is to discuss, deliberate amongst yourselves, and arrive at a common ground. Court is not a place to arrive at common ground. Courts are meant to be adversarial. They are structured like this only. What to do? Right? So that's there. So that is all as far as activism is concerned. Just to summarize, the idea with respect to activism is not something we are against, not at all. But you have to understand that as a judge, there should be no judicial governance. Please don't govern the country. That is best left for executive and legislature. If they are falling short, interfere. Don't govern the country. You are not allowed to govern the country. Refrain from making casual remarks in the open courts. Meaning, see, I'll give you an example. Justice Suryakant, I think JB Patil was also part of this two-judge bench. In this Nupur Sharma case, if you remember Nupur Sharma, she made a statement quoting some religious text on some news channel, and then people started beheading each other here and there. The court, now, see, I know people may have their belief in religion, belief in God, of course. That's fair. That's your choice. Somebody has hurt your belief. You have every right to take them to court. But nobody gives you a right to kill other people. I hope everybody here would agree on that, right? However staunch a believer you are in God. So if somebody is getting beheaded, is that the fault of the person who made a statement? And the court, when this lady has gone to get all the cases in one place only, the court is making all these comments. The loose tongue of this lady has caused havoc in the country. Are you trying to support beheadings indirectly? Because see, when you make a casual statement, see, we understand the context that you are making statement in. That yes, she made a statement which caused some kind of trouble. Understood. Others may not. People may say, oh, see, the lady is wrong. We are right in killing people. Come on, let's kill more people. Your statements, which are casually made, can be uh, interpreted wrongly by the people as well. Okay? And also refrain from over criticizing other organs or other institutions. Okay? See, ultimately, the idea is you should stick to just reviewing the decision making process. The process has to be fair, not the decision. No judicial governance. The country has to be governed by the executive and legislature. You please stick to interpretation of laws only. Because, see, let me tell you something. Misdirected enthusiasm is never consistent with impartiality. If you are over enthusiastic, you will always be biased. It's natural. And this concept of having restraint on oneself, the idea of judicial restraint, this is something that the court has to decide on its own. The line has to be drawn on its own, right? The strength of judiciary lies in understanding its own limitations. We can't impose limitations on it. This is what is best left for your own better judgment. For everything else, there are laws, right? That's it. We are done with our issues on judiciary. It's done. Simple questions on judiciary. These two, we'll discuss them briefly after the lunch, though nothing much is required here. You have to talk about the public interest petitions here, PILs. So we'll take some time, maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and explain what can be mentioned here in this and this question. And after the lunch break, we'll also start our discussion on tribunals. Okay. So let's meet after lunch. Have your lunch and come back at 2:10, and then we'll continue our discussion further. Break, please.